Okay, so let's talk about hardware. Now, what I'm talking about here is if you want to get into recording or music production, what kind of hardware should you have at your disposal? Hardware meaning physical things, right? Computers, microphones, stuff like that. So, the first question, which is a question as old as time, it has stumped philosophers for millennia, is should you get a Mac or a PC to make music with? Or should you have a Mac or a PC? Well, this can be a very controversial answer and a highly opinionated answer. So, let me first tell you that when it comes to speed and computing power, processor power, graphics power, all of that stuff, at this point, this wasn't always true, but at this point, any computer will do just fine. Really doesn't matter. A Mac is fast enough, a PC is fast enough. An off the shelf PC is probably fast enough to do everything you want to do. So that really doesn't matter. It does matter if you're thinking about what software is available for the type of computer that you're going to use. For example, I like to use Ableton Live. For a while, that wasn't available on the PC. It was Mac only. It is now available for the PC also. So if you want to use Ableton Live, it doesn't matter. Off the top of my head, the only professional audio program that is not available on both Mac and PC at this point is Logic. Logic is owned by Apple, so it's only available for Macintosh. So if you want to use Logic, then you're on a Macintosh. All the others have a Mac and a PC version. Now this thing about Mac and PC is really actually really interesting, because if you go back to the late 90s or so, when people were really starting to do some of this work outside of big recording studios, and even in the big recording studios, you almost always saw a Mac in those studios. And the reason for that was really just because the software that was available for a Mac was at that time superior when it comes to audio production to the software that was available for a PC. The early versions of Pro Tools and things like that were only available for the Mac, and probably because the Mac was seen as kind of the creative computer, or the computer for the creative artist, whereas a PC was seen as the computer you get to do your taxes. Now, obviously, those things aren't really true anymore, and like I just said, both are fine. However, there still is a stigma attached to using a PC in a professional studio. A little bit. If I went into a professional recording studio and I went into the control room and I sat down and I fired it up and it was a PC, it would give me a little bit of a pause. It just would. It's much, much more common to have a Mac in those situations. Probably because of tradition, really. It's definitely not because of computing power or anything like that at this point. Mostly because of tradition. There's even a little bit of genre preference. Like, I know a lot of like the people making dubstep and trap are more into PCs than Macs. I don't know why that is. It has no bearing on like the software or the power of the computer. It just is. It's probably because PCs are cheaper. That's for sure. There's no debating that. So all of that being said, I learned how to use computers by using Pro Tools. So I've been a Mac guy ever since I got my first computer. So I'm a Mac guy. I like Apple stuff. But that doesn't mean you have to be. So if the question is, should I get a Mac or a PC? The answer to that is, first, how much money you got. If you're on a tight budget, get a PC. Fine. End of story. If you got a little more money, then sub-question, how cool do you want to be? If you want to be cool, get a Mac. If you have a lot of money and you don't care about being cool, get a PC and then save the rest of your money for something else. For the software you're going to need to buy for that thing. So that's how I answer that question. How much money you got and how cool do you want to be? That's not a very fair way to answer it, but it's true.